Alright everyone, welcome back. So, it's awesome that you get to the end of this video and then your computer dies, so you lose all the progress. But anyways, we're gonna do this again. You guys didn't even know that I did it. This is your first time. But anyways, so today we're starting a 4-day video series, taking a look at each division. So today we're taking a look at the Atlantic, tomorrow will be the Metro, and then so on and so forth. So I'm not gonna waste any time here since I just spent 16 minutes and wasted 16 minutes of my life. Let's get into number one here. So number one is the Boston Bruins. They are 31-9-9 this season for 71 points. They have a 7-1-2 record in their last 10. So I think the Bruins have really exceeded expectations this year. I think a lot of people in the media saw the flaws in this forward core, seeing Pavel Zacha as the number one center and seeing the lack of depth, which I won't deny. There is lack of depth. There isn't a lot of depth there. It's been better than we thought it would be. But still, there was that big concern in the offseason with Bergeron retiring, Krejci retiring, a lot of the other guys leaving too. So there was a lot of concern there in regards to that. However, people forgot that this team has a really good defensive core and has probably the best goalie tandem in the NHL. So they still have some really solid aspects to their game, and they're still a legitimate team. And I definitely think that people overlooked them with that. David Pastrnak's their leading scorer with 49 games played, 33 goals, 39 assists for 72 points. Pastrnak been great as he usually is. There's really nothing much else to say there. In net, you have Jeremy Swayman, 15-6-2 record, a 2.78 goals against average, and a .915 save percentage. I definitely think that Swayman has done very well this year for the Boston Bruins. Has been a guy that went through the arbitration issues in the offseason and could really get paid this offseason, 100%. And I definitely think that he deserves it too. It's going to be really interesting to see how much money Swayman's really going to get, which is going to be very exciting. But anyways, Boston's really exceeded expectations this year. Some people probably had their expectations here anyways. But yeah, Boston, still that really good team. They're the only team in the NHL with less than 10 regulation losses. So they've been really fun to watch, and I expect for that to continue into the second half of the season. Number two, the Florida Panthers. Another team that exceeded my expectations at least. This season they went 31-14-4 for 66 points. They are 6-2-2 in their last 10. Definitely a team that has really exceeded expectations. And a lot of what my expectations were, I realized wasn't specifically on Florida. It was because I've seen many teams before go to the Stanley Cup Finals and regress. Didn't mean Florida was going to, and they for sure didn't. Sam Reinhart leading the way for this Panthers team. 49 games played, 37 goals, 25 assists for 62 points. Reinhart's going to get paid. We talked about Nylander a few weeks ago when he got signed to his extension. Reinhart's going to be a guy that really gets paid as well. And I'm going to be really entertained to see how much money he's going to get. And then finally, Sergei Bobrovsky in net has 23-10-2 record with a 2.51 goals against average and a .9110 save percentage. Bobrovsky, another goalie that a lot of people read off, has looked very solid this year for the Panthers and has kept them in some games and has played pretty well since the playoffs. Yeah. And even with the injuries that Florida had early on in the season, with Ekblad being out of the lineup and some other guys being injured, they've still looked really good. And even, too, Tkachuk, lacking some of the goal scoring he's lacked in previous years. I do think with Tkachuk, though, there is an asterisk to that. He's played well, he just hasn't scored. And I think it's gotten better recently than it was a month ago. But yeah, Tkachuk looking really good, and so is the Panthers. 100%. Number three is the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning are currently 27-18-5 for 59 points. They have an 8-2-0 record in their last 10. So yeah, Tampa, another team that was also kind of written off by some people. I will say this, they lost a lot of depth, and they're not the team they were 2 years ago. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And I said this in the video a few days ago with Tampa. They can still win it. They could very well still win it. A few pieces, a few tweaks at the trade deadline, and they're still a team that can win a cup. I absolutely think they are with the experience, with the offense. They're a team that can still go all the way. Nikita Kucherov leading the way for the Lightning, though. 49 games played, 32 goals, 53 assists for 85 points. He is a player that, in my eyes, could win the Hart Trophy, but there is a guy over in Colorado and a guy over in Edmonton, too, who could make very good cases for winning the Hart Trophy, and I guess Toronto as well. But yeah, definitely, there's some really good Hart players this year that could win the Hart Trophy. But Kucherov has looked great this year, like he usually does. And then Vasilevsky, 16-10-0 this season, 2.85 goals against average, and a .899 save percentage. These are some of the worst Vasilevsky numbers I have seen ever. Not to say that Vasilevsky's having a down year, but I think he's missed a lot of games. There was some midseason struggles for Tampa, and obviously him coming back, he wasn't the same player as he once was. So definitely that plays a factor, but obviously, he's still a very good goalie. When I do my goalie rankings in the summer, he's not going to be number one, unfortunately, but still a really good goalie, and definitely, just wait till he turns up in the playoffs. Just wait till playoffs. That's all I'm going to say. Number 4. I feel like I'm moving quicker than the last take I did. But the Toronto Maple Leafs are at 4. And here's the first team that I kind of have some issues with. The Maple Leafs. They're 25-14-8 for 58 points. They are 5-4-1 in their last 10. They're a team that has kind of struggled a bit here. And the end of December, and even in the middle of December, the end of December into November, into January, I'm really bad today. There have been some issues in Toronto. There's no doubt about it. There's been some issues with goaltending. That's really been their main problem. But Nylander is leading this team with 47 games played, 23 goals, 38 assists, 61 points. I think even though you can make the argument of, Nylander, he's not going to put up these numbers next season, which you're probably right, he's not going to. But still, I think he deserves the money. I think when you look at overall playoff performers for the past couple of years, I think that Nylander has been the best of the 4 in a lot of key instances. He has been. So definitely, I look at that for sure. And then the goalie that I picked here too, and that's kind of the reason why they've been struggling lately. They're in a little bit of a goalie carousel. They have Martin Jones as the guy that I picked. He has a 9-6-1 record with a 2.64 goals against average and a .911 save percentage. He's looked really good this year in some of the games he's played, but so has Joseph Woll, and so has Samsonov recently too. It's just like really strange how the three of them have looked good at times. They've looked bad at times. They have some decisions to make coming into the trade deadline, and so does Brad Treliving. This is the last year before they start paying Nylander that money, and I think that when you combine all those contracts together, that's about like 25% of their money. So definitely, we're going to see, once again, another really big offseason for Toronto. It feels like every offseason is a big offseason for the Maple Leafs, and I think that a lot of that comes with the media, 100%. A team that is tied with them, though, and is 5th in the Atlantic, is the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I said this in my last part. I'm trying to remember most of what I said, but with the Red Wings, I think that they're a team that really deserves to be in it. They've played really well over the stretch, and they look like a team that can make the playoffs. They're 26-18-6 this season with 58 points. They are 6-2-2 in their last 10. And I thought that after December, and I made a video on the Wings too early January last month, I said that I looked at them as a team that, they had a really rough December, but I thought they could pull themselves out of it. And what do you know? They did. I knew this was going to happen. I knew they were a team that could pull out of it, and they've showed me that they can overcome that December hump and make it into the playoffs. If it was distracting you, my phone kept going off in the background, so I moved that. Anyways, Dylan Larkin leads this team in scoring right now with 44 games played, 23 goals, 24 assists, 47 points. Larkin has looked very entertaining in a lot of stretches here for the Red Wings, and definitely there was that controversy of, should they have moved him at last year's deadline? Well, it's looking like it's a good thing they didn't, because he's been a really good captain and has led this Red Wings team through a lot of adversity. 100%. Alex Lyon is your starting goalie with a 13-6-2 record, a 2.51 goals against average, and a .922 save percentage. I definitely think that with Lyon, he's really gotten a chance to step up, and he's done very well for himself. I think that they have a really big goalie carousel right now with guys like Husso and Hutchinson and Reimer. There's a lot of goalies right now in Detroit's system, and obviously, too, in December, a reason why they struggled a little bit was because their goalies got hurt. So definitely with their goalies back, they look really solid now. They look like a legitimate playoff team, and they could make it this year. Honestly, I looked at my Metro points. I looked at my Metro stats because I already made the notes for that. They have a really high lead on some of the other teams that are competing right now. So definitely, it's looking like, as of right now at the All-Star break, there is going to be 5 teams in the Atlantic that make the playoffs, and only 3 in the Metro. It's a very competitive Atlantic division this season. Number 6, and moving into 10 points below the Red Wings, is the Buffalo Sabres with a 22-23-4 record for 48 points. They are 6-4 in their last 10. So they've been better recently. However, my concern with Buffalo is just my same concern from last year. This team pretty much brought in the same roster, which makes a lot of sense. They had a really good second half of the season last year, came pretty close to making the playoffs. They were only like a few points out, and they were still battling for it in April. We haven't seen them playing meaningful hockey in April in almost like 12 years. Now, they come into this year with the same roster, with virtually the same team, a little tweaks to the defense, a few tweaks to the goaltending, but more or less the same roster, and they struggle. I honestly don't know what to think of Buffalo. You think that with their prospects and the guys they're building up, they would have a really bright future, but sometimes it's really difficult to get above that playoff line. There's multiple teams. I'd say about 3 or 4 of these teams that are in this division have been struggling to do that for the past 4 to 5 years. So yeah, I get the struggle, but just Buffalo, it's been 12 years. It's been almost 12, 13 years. It's been a long time. Casey Middlestat leading the way with 49 games played, 12 goals, 30 assists for 42 points. Middlestat, they waited for him. They were patient, and he's played really well. But, however, he could be a guy that gets moved. Because at some point, Buffalo's got to realize, well, with this roster, it isn't working out, so we must have to move some players. And that's probably what's going to happen. Middlestat is looking like a guy who could get moved at the deadline this season. So, unfortunately, he's a player that we could see on another roster. And then at net, you have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen with a 12-11-2 record, a 2.61 goals against average, and a .909 save percentage. He's looked good through some certain stretches. There's been bad stretches too. But obviously, ideally, in the future, their tandem they want to have is Levi and Luukkonen, which makes a lot of sense. But that's the tandem they want to have. And it's unfortunate to see Buffalo go through these struggles in recent years, but they just can't seem to get themselves off the ground right now. And that's just how it is sometimes. In number 7, I have the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens are a team who has looked pretty good at points this season. They really have. And they've really exceeded some expectations that a lot of people had for them this season. 20, 21, and 8 for 48 points. They are 3-4-3 in their last 10. So they have the worst record of any Atlantic team. They're the only team that has a negative Atlantic record in their last 10, which I thought was very interesting. But yeah, Montreal, they're ways out still. They are from playoff. They're not a playoff team just yet, but I think they're progressing really well. I think Caulfield's done really good this season at points. There's been some struggles. Suzuki's been good. The goalies have been solid. I think Marty St. Louis and Kent Hughes have made out very well for themselves. You got Suzuki leading the way here with 49 games played, 13 goals, 29 assists, 42 points. Looking very well this year. And then Montembeault, 11-7-4 with a 3.10 goals against average and a .905 save percentage. He as well has looked very good. And I think that definitely they've signed him. He looks like he's going to be the next goalie for Montreal, at least for the next couple of years. But yeah, I think Montreal, I mean, they're not a playoff team yet, as I said, but I think they're moving in the right direction. I think there's a lot of things to be positive about. And I'm looking forward to, in the next couple of years, seeing Montreal back in the playoffs. Because I think this year has shown some really positive signs at them becoming a playoff team very soon. And then finally, at number 8 in the Atlantic, is the Ottawa Senators. A team that you probably didn't expect to be 8th. Not going to lie. Senators, 20-25-2 for 42 points. They are 6-2-2 in their last 10. So yeah, there's definitely been struggles in Ottawa, but I think now that they've solved a lot of their issues, they've solved the arena problems, they've solved the general manager problems, the ownership problems, they need to find a coach, they need to find things that work, but overall, I think that with this team, I think they've looked better. since the firing, and they've looked pretty good. It was going to take a while for them to get adjusted. They pretty much scrapped DJ Smith's system altogether, and they brought in their whole brand new system with Jock Martin coming in. But overall, they've looked solid recently, and I think there's a lot to be positive about. Tim Stützle leading the way here with 47 games played, 11 goals, 36 assists for 47 points. Stützle been a great player this year, point per game, not scoring a lot necessarily, but still a really solid player overall. And then Korpisalo in net with a 12-16-2 record with a 3.38 goals against average and a .889 save percentage. He at points too has looked it's been iffy at points, but I think he's improved lately. And I definitely think that there's some positive signs here in Ottawa. Ridley Gregg, a guy who, was looked at as Ottawa's best prospect, has played pretty well this season and recently. So I think there's a lot of things to be positive about here in Ottawa, and I think that they are moving in the right direction. Absolutely. I think they really are moving in that right direction. And I hope that, eventually they will make the playoffs and they go far, because it'd be really fun to see Ottawa in the playoffs. Them and Detroit I've never seen before, and Buffalo, obviously. But I've never seen those teams in the playoffs before, so it'd be pretty fun to watch some of those teams play. And I think they have some really good rosters, and overall, this whole division's been a lot of fun. So yeah, that is my State of the Atlantic Division at the All-Star break. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But anyways, thank you all very much for watching. We will do the Metropolitan Division tomorrow, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.